Hi, and thank you for joining us today on the Road to Recovery. I'm your host, Ronda Jackson, small business advocate and serial entrepreneur. Today's conversation is specifically about the opportunities that are available in the world to help us retool, revitalize, and sustain our business in these challenging times. And joining me to discuss this topic is Ms. Beverly Kuykendall, President of Government Business with the American Medical Depot. Thank you for joining us today, Beverly.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Beverly.
Good to be
I
here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming. I want just if you could take a second because you are not only the president of government sales or government business, but you're also my mentor of long time. You're a speaker, a public speaker, keynote for many, many occasions. And guess what I have, Beverly?
I haven't seen that in a while.
So she's also an author. And in addition to that, if you could just give us a snapshot of your position at American Medical Depot.
As president of government business, I'm responsible for profit and loss of government sales. Our company is about 70% government and the rest is commercial. So I'm responsible for all things government as it relates to government contracting. And just to give you some perspective, AMD was recently awarded back in 2016 a $1.2 billion contract with the federal government sales. AMD was also awarded a $400 million integrated operating room contract for the Army and for the Department of Veterans Affairs. So I'm responsible for that segment of the business. And of course, I do that with a team of professionals that are at the top of their game.
Okay, I'm loving that you shared that with us, Beverly, because nowadays we're really hunkering down to figure out who should be in our network, who should be in our circles. If we were interested in pursuing the billions with a B that you just mentioned that are available maybe in our segments or our industry, where would you suggest that we look for those opportunities?
Well, let me start out by saying that I always say that American Medical Depot is a 25-year overnight success because there is no one path that will easily get you there. There are some ground rules and some starting points. So the very first thing that I would say to anyone is that they need to be registered on sam.gov. And now it's been renamed to beta.sam.gov. That is a database of companies that are who'd like to do business with the federal government. And what's most important, Rhonda, is that if you are a government contractor, the only way for you to get paid is to be registered in beta.sam.gov.
Okay, so let me just rewind just a little bit because yes, I'm interested in doing business with the government, but what if I haven't done business with the government? And what if I haven't had success? Maybe I've tried and, stepped away from it. What would your advice be to those business owners?
Well, I see business owners in three buckets that are interested in doing business with the federal government. Either they haven't even tried it. They maybe looked at it, but they haven't tried it at all. It looks too overwhelming. There are those that have tried and who have become frustrated because there's so many rules and regulations. So they haven't found that funnel, that particular path that's just right for their companies. And then there are some that are very well versed in federal government, but they would like to grow their businesses in that sector. So for those that have not at all even tested the waters, I would always recommend go to a resource, a free resource where you can do some research, which is very important. So SBA.gov, the Small Business Administration, or you could go to one of the other agencies that have a plethora of services and resources available to small businesses who are interested in doing business with the federal government. The Procurement Technical Assistance Center is one, PTAC. Yes. The Minority Business Development Agency, MBDA, which is under the Department of Commerce, is another. And there are a plethora of, every agency has a particular door for a small business to walk through if they want to understand how to do business with that agency. And they conduct webinars and conventions and conferences almost on a daily basis.
So we will put a lot of those resources down below in the description box for people to access. So if you have those, I'll make sure I get those from you and we'll add those for links. So when you say government contracting though, I'm thinking White House, DC, Capitol building. So do I need to get on an airplane or, find a trek out to DC, become a lobbyist? So entering the market of government contracting, once I've said, yes, I'd like to sign up, what would be my next step? Or what are the parameters?
Well, I believe in the value of personal experience, and I will tell you how I started. My husband and I had a medical supply distribution company. We wanted to do institutional sales. We went to our local facilities. We were selling medical supplies.
Okay.
So we went to VA hospitals who are local. They're probably between the state of California and Oregon, probably about maybe 20 facilities that you could sell to. And so I would look at local government customers and I would ask them a question: how do you buy? And that will open up an entirely broad door that you can walk through, but you have an opportunity to talk directly to the customer as well. So that's how we got started. It
Okay.
wasn't a great big plan. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a great big theoretical strategy. It was, we want to sell. The government is a large customer. It's the largest customer in the world. It's institutional sales. It's not going door to door. It is B2C, if you will. It is B2B, business to business contracting. So we like that structure because that means there's a structure and a path to not only getting a contract, but also getting paid for that contract. So
Right.
find a local agency that you'd like to sell to. Maybe just something makes sense to you. It would make sense to me that LA Air Force Base would like to buy construction, or they'd like to buy medical supplies, or they'd like to buy defibrillators to go in all their buildings, or they'd like to buy pens and pencils. Think of it in that way, and I think it gives you a place to start.
Okay, so right here in my own backyard, no airplane travel, maybe just doing a general search on, government agencies or where their locations are in my local area. So whether I'm in California, Texas, Michigan, wherever. Yes?
Yes, yes. And from a business perspective, you're going to have to ship your product or conduct services with those agencies. It just makes more sense to be close to home, because the further away you are, the more it costs you: freight costs, travel costs. So being at home makes a big difference.
Okay. And then also the relationship costs, the networking, the research, and creating those opportunities to network.
You have an opportunity, particularly in a local level, of attending local conferences, meetings, mixers. And so you have the opportunity to come in contact with those contracting officers, contracting officer representatives, small business specialists with the federal government. You have an opportunity to come into contact with them on a more routine basis. And I think you're right. That helps to build a relationship.
Oh, very good, very good. I like where this conversation is going, because there are opportunities that should sound like are available now then, that the government would need to replenish itself and its stock in response to our current times. Can you give us a little insight on that?
Well, my word for today is unprecedented. There are unprecedented opportunities, but we have to be ready, prepared, and smart. It's going to take some time. So, and I think we have a little bit of time, only because we're going to be sheltering in place for a while, and even as they continue to open. So I think of it like this. Initially, when COVID-19 first hit, the government was saying there are shortages. There are shortages in personal protective equipment, N95 masks, right? Face shields, gloves, hand sanitizer. So the government was reaching out wherever it could to make those purchases. First, they went to companies that already had contracts, and then they realized that that wasn't enough. And so they started to go outside of that. But what I saw happening, Rhonda, was that companies that were, for example, selling shoes and purses yesterday, all of a sudden they were selling masks. That doesn't necessarily work very well. I know for American Medical Depot, the first thing we do is that we vet the companies that would like to sell products to us so that we can sell them to the federal government, because remember, we're in distribution.
Right.
So we vet those companies. And I want to know who they are, where they came from, how long they've been in business, do they know how to do business? Is it a valid, validated, verified source? Do they know what they're doing? I had an opportunity to buy face shields from a company and thought it was going to be great. When I received the samples, I realized it was not something that we could really use, because what was already in the market was not only less expensive, they were better made. And so today there are opportunities to sell almost everything, but there needs to be a funnel to do it. I would suggest, again, I'm a research person. I would suggest that people conduct research on the web. You can do it in an evening. So there's something called with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, that is charged by the government to respond to emergencies, has a website, and it's called the Industry Liaison Program, ILP. And that website, if you go to it, www.fema.gov/industry-liaison-program, I know you'll have it at the bottom. I would suggest that people click on that link and start conducting some research. And you will read that FEMA has a need. That first they'll ask you if you're a company that wants to donate. They'll ask you if you have companies if you are in a company with an innovative idea for how you could either help test or serve the healthcare professionals, HCPs, they call HCPs, healthcare professionals, the folks that are really on the front lines and that are helping to facilitate COVID-19 patients. They're going to need gloves, they're going to need goggles, they're going to need face masks, they're going to need coveralls, they're going to need gowns, they're going to need all of that PPE type of equipment. And they will say, if you would like to sell that to us, click on this link. If, for example, you're interested in providing a service. So just think about it. Companies are now reopening and they are going to they have cleaning. They're going to need someone to steam clean. They're going to need someone to clean with alcohol, someone to come in on a regular basis, but also to reopen those buildings. What is it going to take? What are the guidelines for cleansing those facilities before they are reoccupied by personnel? If you have a company that does that, there's a link for you to click on under the Industry Liaison Program. So there's lots of information. Think about what you have and the service that you'd like to conduct. The websites are there. It's not like it used to be where you have to call somebody and maybe they know. Now there's no excuse for not knowing.
No, I love that. And I also like how you're asking us to actually build on the capacities that we already have. Like I've had these continuous conversations in some of the other episodes, which were wonderful ideas, but to really take the strength of our organization and highlight that and present that as a viable source to either distributors like AMD or to, agencies like FEMA. I really appreciate that conversation. So then I would ask you then, if we're in our backyards, we see where the opportunities are with the different agencies or possibly distributors like you described as yourself. What would be a foundational action step to do next? So yes, I want to sign up. Yes, I want to do government sales. I have something that I think that they could use and need like on an immediate basis. What would be my next step?
The very first thing I would do, Rhonda, is register on sam.beta.gov. Okay. That is bar none. Go there, register, and you'll start to peel back the onion. They have to know how to get to you. And in order for the government to buy from you, they have to validate you. Okay. and or vet you. And one of the first things that they will do is they will go to that site. So absolutely register on beta.sam.gov. That's the very first thing to do. And remember, you want to get paid if you sell something. So it's important.
Yes. So putting ourselves in there. No, thank you, Beverly, for this wonderful discussion. I know there are a lot of steps. I'll try to itemize them and get them down in the discussion box below so that people can click on. If people wanted to learn a little bit more or even contact AMD Sales regarding products that they might have, do you have a website that they could go to as well?
We do, but I'll give you a word of caution. We are getting phone calls upon phone calls. It's incredible. In fact, I'm actually going to visit a site tomorrow that is a local manufacturer of hand sanitizer who happens to be a minority-owned company. Oh. I don't always have that luxury. It was complete happenstance. Someone my husband introduced me to. They're local right here. They're probably about 15, 20 minutes away from my office. But there are people everywhere that are people who know me, who know you, who are coming out of the woodwork saying, I have this and I have that. Well, the first thing I'm going to do, I want to know where you're getting it from. I want to know if it's a quality product. I want to know if it's readily available. I want to know and I'm not going to pay upfront for it at all. I'll be able to issue a purchase order, but there's no way I'm paying for any product up front. That's the first sign to me that something isn't quite right. I prefer to work with companies that are already in the business versus somebody who's trying to jump on an opportunity because we're in this crisis.
I understand. So it sounds like we actually need to do one more show, and that one sounds more like a supply chain, because I think you mentioned it earlier in how the government buys is one of the questions, but that's a supply chain conversation about how they can access product from you, service from you to get you in that process for payment.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And Rhonda, I think the federal government is a great customer. It's not an easy customer, but it can be a lucrative one. If you have a business where you really want to provide products and services to be of service to our country's veterans, right? We all have very good ethics about how we want to do business, why you want to do business. If you're only in the business just to make a quick buck, federal government sales is not for you, because in the federal government, you build on your experience on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute. Through the research, you build on it. So it's almost like on-the-job training. You do a little research, you register on beta.sam.gov. You see another link that you're interested in. You register there. They're going to ask you for your NAICS code. What's a NAICS code? North American Industrial Classification System. Oh, why is that important? Oh, read about why that's important. Oh, I need to classify my business according to a NAICS code. Then I need to determine, according to the federal government, am I a small business, or am I a medium, or am I a large business, or am I an emerging company? And what are the benefits to being any of those in that particular category?
Right. So there is a lot of homework to do, that it's not a simple turnkey solution. But I thank you for introducing it to us, those of us that have not entertained government sales as an option for revitalizing our business. And I thank you for your time today as well, Beverly.
You're welcome.
Very much. And if I can ask you to return, we'd love to have that supply chain conversation with you as well.
I love the brevity, and I can go on and on. So I thank you very much for your direction. Here to be of service, Rhonda. Thank you.
I know. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you.